captivities, I saw how people live, ordinary people live in North Korea. What is the life like for prison guard and people around me, and what the normal their lifestyle was like. And I saw that as I'm only being captive as a prisoner for 2 years, but these people living in the society, living without freedom, and living without able to say whatever they're able to say. And I really see that the whole country is just how whole society function as a big giant cell. You know. So I grew more compassion for the people in North Korea, and I made a very special friendship and relationship with many people around me. And then I realized that people in North Korea shouldn't matter to the rest of the world. That's why I named the book, new book that I came out called Not Forgotten, because not only I wasn't forgotten by media or by the people or by God, the people of North Korea should not be forgotten, Lord, because the 24 million people living under such a oppressed regime, and they're suffering, living in darkness. One of the conversations that I had with the guard really hunted me, because one person said, I heard about God before, but I never heard about Jesus before until you spoke about Jesus. So tell me, where does Jesus live? In China or North Korea? That was his sincere question he was asking. But he's from Pyongyang, he's a college graduate. He said he never in his life heard the name Jesus before. Is this a 21st century in prosperous East Asia, and someone like that exists is a very disturbing and upsetting and really painful, because once Korea, especially Pyongyang, was known to be the Jerusalem of the Far East. One of the things that I realized is that people living there really do not know what it's like to live outside. Certain things like, I mentioned to some of the people, did you know that the South Korea economy is about 40 times larger than North Korea economy is? And they have no idea. And some people, I asked, do you know that Secretary General of UN is actually South Korean? And the response that I got is, no way. That's not possible. How can a South Korean can become a Secretary General of the UN? South Korea is supposed to be the puppet country of the United States. So when I share some of the story like this, and they were shocked and surprised, and is that really what's going on outside? I was able to receive some newsletters, newspaper, and some magazine from Swedish embassy containing some footage about outside. And I saw one time that President Xi Jinping was visiting President Obama in the United States for the first time. And then when I mentioned to them, and they said that President Xi Jinping will visit the United States over North Korea, for them they were very upsetting, and that they didn't know what's really going on outside. I thought they are with that, they are allies. He's visiting the United States. And so these kind of questions that I received, I realized that people are totally cut off from the rest of the world. And they're living without really knowing what's going on outside. And they just have to listen to what the government's telling them what is right. So for my detainment, for them, it was very right. For them, it was a righteous act for them, trying to prevent from someone like me to coming in trying to disturb the peace, divide the nation, and trying to overthrow the government through injecting the Christian virus or praying for people in North Korea. And they thought they were doing righteous things to stop someone like me coming in from there. So for them, they are the righteous, where we as Americans are evil empire trying to overthrow the government of North Korea. So I have a broader perspective of life a little bit, and see their point of view. And not that I agree with everything they do or they say, but I see that how people live over there, really what the government do really affect the ordinary people in North Korea. So I just want to say today is that we need to remember the people like North Korean were cut off from society. So that by writing this book, I'm hoping that people have a little more deeper understanding of what is life like in North Korea, and also to be able to have more compassion for the common people of North Korea. So I want to see that we need to differentiate between the governments and the people are suffering without knowing what is coming next to them. But we as outside people outside continue to reach out to them, stand with them, and remember them through prayer, support, and any other blessing that we can give. And people over there will be able to see a glimpse of what it's like to living in outside, what it's like to be a part of the international community. So I believe that's why that I wrote the book, and so that we can have people as more have, and we can have more people will be able to see the life of North Korea themselves, and through someone who was a captive in North Korea for 2 years. Yes, 735 days in detention was obviously long enough. If you ask me now, then do you want to go back as a prisoner? I say no. But I would love to go back if circumstances change and policies change, and maybe there's someday that someone like me will be welcomed back to North Korea with a blessing with the U.S. government and then also the government of the DPRK, and so that someday we'll be able to live more harmoniously, to be able to have find peaceful resolution, to be able to stand together in the community rather than just having this total military attention, and that's what is happening at this time. So I just want to say thank you all for coming and for listening to my story for the last 2 years. But without the media coverage, without the prayer, without the people's care and supporting, and then I probably wouldn't be here. That's why I mentioned that my victory is your victory, it's our victory, because we've done it together. I believe that we need to give the same attention to the 2 Americans still in custody in DPRK, North Korea. Kim Dong-chul, and received 10 years of hard labor sentence, and Otto Wambier received 15 years hard labor sentence. My heart go out for them and for their family, and I wish them to come back. But we as Americans still need to remember those who are in prison overseas, places like North Korea, so that they will someday will be able to know that as we care, we have compassion for them, and they will be released and they will be coming home soon too. Thank you.
Before we do Q&A, Mr. Would you like to respond?
Well, how much time do we have time for questions?
Yes, we do.
Well, why don't we first see whether the press has questions, no speeches, and after that, those in the audience that would like to ask a specific question, Ken has graciously allowed. Are there any questions at all from the press?
Please identify yourself.
We'll identify what press you represent, and we'll recognize you.
I'm Matthew Pennington from Associated Press. Thank you, Mr. Bae, for sharing your experience with us. Could you, do you have any advice, to the 2 Americans who are currently in North Korea? If you had the opportunity to speak to them, what would you say to them about getting through their ordeal?
I would say that continue to have a hope in the U.S. government that they are doing everything they can to secure their release, and also just to take one day at a time. Because I have to do that, I have to literally have to create a calendar. I have to mark up each day, and we're creating it every month, so that we're thinking that maybe next month or next week that I'm going home. So I never thought that one moment that I wasn't going home at all. It's just a matter of timing issue. So I hope that they will, the one thing that I wanted to stress out is that all, as far as I know, is all American who were detained in North Korea or came home one day or one time or the other. And therefore, they should continue to have hope, knowing that U.S. governments will not leave them behind, and they will bring them home.
Hi, I'm Miriam with ABC News. Can you describe some of the conditions that student is probably going through as he was sentenced to the prison labor camp as you were?
You know, I cannot really say for sure because I can only describe through my experience. So I don't know whether he was sent to labor camp or he's still at the detention center in Pyongyang. But if he was sent to labor camp, maybe he's maybe doing the same thing that I was doing before. Right now, the farming season, so I'm assuming that maybe he's working the bean field, just like I was, and then maybe doing a little bit of everything they're asking him to do. But he'll be working from 8 o'clock in the morning to 6 o'clock in the evenings, 6 days a week. One good thing is, I believe the North Korean governments really care about Western media coverage. They'll check to see what's happening. So therefore, as we give special attention to the people, the two people that were in custody through the media, I think that they will make sure they are being treated humanely as possible. What they can, so that way, when they come home, they can say that they were treated humanely as possible, just like I was doing now. So therefore, I believe that as we cover their story more frequently or the more intensity, and their treatments over there will matter. I think that because of media coverage. Yes.
Thank you so much for writing the book and being here. My name is Guy Taylor. I'm with the Washington Times here in Washington.
Yes.
When you were saying during this presentation today about the interactions that you had with North Koreans about international news, for
Yes.
instance, was that with other prisoners or prison guards, or was that during the time that you were doing the dozen or more tours before your captivity? One, and two, could you tell us a little bit about your interaction with other prisoners, why they were being held, etc.?
Yes, for the labor camp that I was in was only for foreigners only. So when I went, I was actually a little excited that I would maybe having some interaction with other prisoners. When I got there, I found myself that I was the only prisoner in camp. And there were about 30 guards working. So I received a lot of attention from each person because they didn't have much thing to do other than that. But so there's no interactions. I don't know, what the life is like with other people who were detained. There's one time Matthew Miller, who came home with me. We overlapped about 1 week at the labor camp, but I didn't know who he was there. He didn't know I was there. We never got to see each other, so there was no interaction. And then so some of the conversation I described today, mostly done after I was sent to labor camp. So that later on I was able to communicate with guard and some officials that came to visit me. There's a political officer who came to see me every week, and we discussed about difference between religions and their Juche ideology. We did some weekly debate to talk about which is a better way to live in, something like that. Yes.
Contact Wang from YTN, South Korean cable TV.
Yes.
I could not hear you well about the very last part, your presentation. I think you wished a peaceful resolution of the situation there, and not by military intervention or something. Could you elaborate that?
Yes. I just hope that, in my opinion, through the dialogue and more interaction and exchange is a better way of dealing with North Korea than having a military build-up, because I was UN sanctioned, because I see that the lifestyle of the top elite of North Korean people doesn't really affect them much. But the ordinary people living in the ordinary life will get when pretty much that effect will have more effect on those people living in the regular life. So I believe that by trying to find a peaceful resolution through the more dialogue, more diplomatic channel, it would be the better way of dealing with North Korean issues than military standoff. That's what my take on this case.
I have one more question. Dennis Rodman was a pretty big vocal advocate on your behalf. Can you describe what your relationship with him is like?
Well, I never met Dennis Rodman. I haven't met him yet. But I did thank Dennis Rodman on the CNN interview last time that because even though it was accidental, there's remark that what he did over live interview in CNN brought international attention. His rant became used as a publicity tool. In a way, is that I believe that helped the public to know my case more clearly. Therefore, I thank Dennis Rodman that for being a catalyst for my release. He's one of the catalysts. He's not the one fully responsible, I don't believe, but he could be the one person that brought the helped to brought the international attention for my case.
Do you plan to meet him in the future?
He did tweet it that he is grateful for my remark, and then he did ask that if I have time to meet together. So maybe someday we'll meet. We'll just, but that will be open. Yeah.
Any other questions? So we'll have closing remarks from Mr. Larson, and then Mr. Rangel will conclude.
My only closing remark is, again, Kenneth, welcome home.
Thank you.
Well, I hope all of us will always be able to do whatever we can for cases like Ken. He is very thankful when I try to share with him what all of you know, that you always feel better when you're trying to help somebody else. And in this case, America and his family was the wind on his wings, and we're fortunate that he could come back and talk with us. And life has a way of doing that for all of us. So thank you all for coming, and for a grateful nation for your courage. You're a symbol of what we hope we never have to go through, but we can never give up following your role. Thank you so much. Thank all of you so much for coming. And Hannah, a very special thanks to you for working so hard to bring this and make it such a success.
Thank you very much. And I believe Kenneth has a gift for the three of you.
I did bring this book for you.
Yeah.
And this one.
So that you don't forget him.
That's right.
And we'll do group photo. Can you, if you, then we'll do group photo.
Books, books, books. Books, 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 books. Thank you.
Thank you again, everybody, for coming, and I believe Kenneth is available to stick around if you want to meet and talk with us.